But we'll talk about it next time.
We can talk about that
next time. Maybe, because let's stay on topic. We don't have time now.
Okay, welcome.
Welcome back to NotDailyPodcast. Usually we do things approximately, but today we have also approximately. Today we have data and
huge data.
We did science ourselves with the goal of dominating Twitter. How to use science to hack Twitter.
I wasn't really aware we were doing that, to be honest.
What were we doing? We were sad of having conversations with ourselves during the... It seems that there is not many people sending us messages. We're sad about that.
Yes.
So we wanted to grow our listenership, and we did that doing an experiment using A/B testing and science to know how to best get viewers, right?
Exactly that, by launching ads.
So yeah, we decided to dive into the dark, ugly world of advertising and decided to pay people to listen to us.
Yeah.
And now we've decided to share it with all of you so that you can use what we learn.
We learned so much.
You'll see, like a very significant sample size, very, very significant conclusions.
Yep.
So the only rule is we have 10 euros and the goal is to get the most listeners possible, right?
Was that the only rule? Like $10, 2 days of ads. For me, the rule was to get the most listen.
Yeah.
Not the most listeners, not the most click, the most listen for any episode.
Yeah, so first of all, the success metric, right? It's very hard for us to measure because there's so many different podcast platforms. Let's speak into the glamorous world of podcast making. We've never really been able to get trustworthy, great analytics about how many listeners do we have, how many listens do we have. So yeah, I guess listens is a good success metric, as good as any.
I think it's the easiest one for us to get.
And so yeah, we are hosted on Red Circle. That gives us a number for listens. But I don't know how trustworthy it is. Because before that, we were hosted on my own server, private server, and I could tell firsthand how difficult it is to measure how many listens do you have, because there's all kind of robots that ping the server to get information. There's the podcast platforms cache the episodes. So when you work in podcast, you don't know exactly how many listeners or how many listens you have. But we were hoping that we could compare the result in relative difference between us. So yeah, a thing I didn't say, like we each get 10 euros and we compete like a marketplace of idea using the basic principles of capitalist and free market. Who can get the most out of 10 euros?
Let's do it. So let's share what we've done. I think you can start, like your campaign seems way more complicated than mine.
Maybe we can, at the very beginning, give a generic outline. So I turned to Twitter. I chose Twitter for my campaign because, and we are bound to talk about that later, but I have been fiddling with Twitter lately. It's been a year or so that I started to get interested in Twitter. So I decided to leverage my expertise, my experience. Oh my God. And also, I thought that our podcast is rather, let's say, I don't want to say smart or intellectual because that's pretentious, but...
But you're saying it.
I guess it didn't feel like a TikTok thing or something like that. So I wanted to engage with people who are interested in reading, who read. Even though I do think that Twitter is not the best place to engage, to grow content or whatever. So that's why I chose Twitter, because I thought it might be more intellectual than YouTube or TikTok or whatever.
Okay, you have a way better reason to use Twitter than I did.
So so you use Twitter too, right?
My thought process first was let's use Reddit, because I guess like it's kind of the same kind of audience, Reddit and Twitter, like a bit more niche.
Reddit is a very good choice. Yeah.
A bit more focused, I guess. So that was my first choice. Like, let's do Reddit. But the problem with Reddit is the ad system is horrible, meaning like either you do a real thing with like a video and you can like embed the video and maybe you can get some click, but like if you just do a picture with text, it resembles so much normal content that I know it's weird, but on Twitter it resembles like a normal tweet as well.
Yeah.
But it's in the same kind of feed, and like so you see like NotDailyPodcast, you see a post from it, and then like you kind of want to engage. But with Reddit, like you're following some subreddit and it comes from another subreddit or like non-subreddit, like it's just a promoted link.
It feels more intrusive.
It feels a bit weird, and I felt like it would go nowhere, and it was more complicated. It asked for more work, and to be completely honest, I didn't have that much time. Like I had 2 weddings in the last 2 weeks, so I was like, okay, I need to do the simplest form of ads, and I think Twitter, because it's really text-based.
But I do think that text-based and simpler form of ads are probably the least effective.
Obviously, less work, less engagement, I guess.
So yeah, I was a bit disappointed because I chose Twitter expecting it to be like the least effective platform for ads. So I was kind of hoping you found something more effective. But on the other hand, it will be easier to compare what we both did, right? A/B testing galore. And with a sample size of 10 euros of ads, we're going to have so much data, so much confidence in our data, so much significance. That's going to be so amazing. And you know what I did? The first thing I did when I arrived on Twitter ads, I decided to split my campaign into 5 branches to do even more A/B testing.
I saw that. I was like, what is he doing? Like, it's like $2 for each campaign. I'm like, why?
Because I had questions, I wanted to try things, and I'm pretty happy I did that because I got a lot of results to talk about.
So
maybe
what? Like maybe you can just list your hypotheses.
Yeah, let's each present what we did and then compare the results.
Okay.
So as I said, I did 5 different campaigns. Because I wanted to test different things, and I don't know. So first, when you arrive on Twitter ads, you prompted with a choice. Do you want to advertise for clicks or for reach, I think? Like prints, essentially. So I was like, let's try that. So I have one branch that is pure reach. But since it has no click guarantee, I thought I would make the most clickbaity thing based on what I measured on Twitter. So I analyzed all my past tweets to find which were the ones that drove the most engagement, etc.
Okay.
And I derived which words drive the most engagement, and from that I made this campaign with really trying to be inflammatory to prompt engagement, because you know that the most inflammatory content is always the one that drives engagement, and I'm bad at that because inflammatory is bad.
But you still did it.
I still try to do it. So I'm going to read the tweet since we're talking about it. So I combined all the words that got a lot of engagement on our previous tweets and wrote politic groups, boomers, millennial atheists, etc. manipulate democratic debate and manufacture consent with inconsistent narrative and critiques. Why is irrationality the worst, in all caps, dangerous threat and not a life choice? So I chose for this the episode we did on inconsistency. What's wrong with a little self-contradiction, which I love really. This episode, it helped me a lot. So I thought it was good for a flame war. And that's how I combined keywords into something. I'll talk later about how well it did, or not well.
So the first hypothesis was basically most inflammatory tweet possible.
Well, I don't know if I was trying to test an hypothesis or that. I just wanted to see the reach campaign versus click campaign. I don't know which of them would perform better. It was more a question, like which would perform better. And stay tuned, we have actual results on that I think are significant. For the rest, so I loved making new branches. So I have a branch that is really. So maybe I should phrase it based on which episodes I chose. So I chose this episode on inconsistency because I love it. I also wanted to do something about our episode on Sarah Zanmai, on the Japanese anime, because I think this is niche content that really answers the question of people who've watched Sarah Zanmai, right? So for this branch, €2 too, so basically this is my attempt at the nichest targeting I can ever do. So I use keywords like psychology, philosophy, anime, metaphysics, but Sarah Zanmai, Utena, Koala, the works of the director. But to make sure that it's really niche and Twitter doesn't just give me random anime people, I use blacklist of popular shonen. So I blacklist Naruto, One Piece, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball, etc.
Okay, nice.
So that's what I would call my niche attempt. Then I saw that there was then the bulk of the rest is divided between 3 episodes that I really liked. So the recent one about how to unlock new abilities in our brain, because I thought that was nice clickbait. One that seemed to have a bit of success, the GPT-3 one. And one of my other favorites, the what does the universe optimize for? Which I think is a very interesting question that is very us. And so I wanted to use them as a, generic campaign. And then I arrived at the targeting section of Twitter, and I saw you could target either by keyword or by follower lookalike. So what did I do? I did 2 branches. One where I used keywords. So let me give you a couple of keywords.
How much euros did you spend per campaign?
It's €2 per campaign.
Okay.
It's 5 branches. There's no real control. Like it's a bit of a mess, but I had fun. This was supposed to be fun.
Yes.
So I used keywords like podcast, philosophy, rationality. We can talk about later why I went so much into the philosophy vibe. It's based on my past experience. Neurology, rationality, theology. There's a nice suggest keyword thing on Twitter, so I got some of it from there. Got people interested in education, college life, graduate life, in sci-fi also. So really a potpourri of things. And in the follower lookalike branch, I chose some of the Twitter users that are a little bit like us, trying to do podcasts in a smart and quirky way, let's say. I don't know. In a essentially around rationality, maybe, based on my past experience with Twitter. And so I have people like Sam Harris, or friends at Embrace the Void podcast, Existential Comics, Philosophy Now, also another great podcast, this kind of stuff.
Okay.
We'll go more about these people later. And finally, you have a final branch, which I added actually after the whole thing. But so I did all this setup, and at the end I was like, maybe. So a thing I noticed is all of these ads are talking about an episode. Based on the hidden assumption that if you give a precise thing, you're more likely to get engagement.
Yes.
Because if you speak in generic terms, saying like, oh, hey, check out our podcast, I thought it might be less engaging than a direct question like, what is the universe optimizing for, or something like that. But I was like, let's do a branch to check that out. Let's do a generic branch. Hey, check out our podcast. So for which I wrote a dedicated tweet saying like, you can be smart without being serious, or something like that. Check out NotDailyPodcast, where we mix cognitive science, philosophy, pop culture, and tech to tackle unanswerable question. It reused our bio, but a little bit more clickbaity. So this is the story of what I set up. I guess 5 branches, okay. The flame reach out, the Sarah Zanmai niche thing, the follower-based approach, the interest-based approach, and the generic tweet linking at the podcast in general, which is even harder to measure because it doesn't link to a direct episode. but we can talk about that. Okay, maybe it's a good time for you to tell us what the way you've approached the problem.
Yes. So I went with a not similar approach at all, to be honest.
That's good. That's good. Diversity.
Because I was we only had €10, and €10 of ads is pretty much nothing. So for me, like, it wasn't even an idea to start many campaigns. Like, I was like,
Yeah, I know it's crazy to split it. I fully realize that it's like splitting peanuts, splitting dust.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's not going to happen. So I was like, okay, let's just set one campaign but like target it not that strongly, but a bit strongly. Meaning, I only went with very big US cities. I was like, we can't test many hypotheses with that many roles. So I'm like, okay, let's just like target US people that live in big cities and that listen to like sci-fi and tech shows.
Oh, that's very interesting because I didn't mention it, but I have no geolocalization parameters. I just used English. So that's...
Obviously, when you do ads, you think about stereotypes. And I was like, our podcast is much more for like the tech guys that works in the Silicon Valley than like the farmer in Texas. So I know it's a bit like stereotypical, but
I think advertising is stereotypical by nature.
Exactly.
But we can get more into that. Maybe I can plug in one little result right here because I don't think we're gonna go into detail about that. But if you had let it like that, like me, run into basically anywhere in the world, I had a lot in India. Like maybe a third in India, which is actually less than I could have expected if you had told me before. But yeah, so I didn't do any assumption. I didn't do anything geographically, and I didn't even check that much the difference between countries. Anyway, continue.
The second thing, so you targeted a lot on topic, on follower, etc., etc. To be honest, I'm not that familiar with the Twitter platform, and I was like, okay, there's like a tag input thingy. And there was not that many tags, so I don't know how you set up like the philosophy thing, the meta philosophical thing, etc.
Yeah,
like,
so you can either set up keywords, which are free text, or set up categories, which is based on their taxonomy, which is a little more constraining.
So I didn't understand that. So I only went with category, and in category there's no philosophy, there's nothing basically. So
the closest is sci-fi, right?
So yeah, so basically I chose like sci-fi. I choose like technology and like another thing. Maybe I can find it. I had it just before.
See, so you broke the rules too.
So yeah, tech, like science news, space and astronomy, technology and computing, tech news, database, data center, startups. And I went super stereotypical with hobbies and interests, chess. But like, I mean, like there was basically only that I could pick from.
Yeah.
So
the taxonomy is very restrained, which is why I went for keywords.
So I was like, okay, fine. Like, let's do the stereotypical nerd. So I did that. And then, so that was just my target. So basically, there's 4 groups for me that I wanted to test. There was like content-based.
Oh, so you did the main campaign, but different targeting groups?
Yes. No, one targeting groups, but different tweets.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Because you can.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you can, and then you can just say like, do the best you can. And like the algorithm actually like pick the best tweet for you and like boost the best tweet to boost like the click rate. So I was like, that's gonna test like the click rate by itself, which is kind of interesting, I guess. So I set up 4 tweets based on 4 stuff that I wanted to try. So the first one was brutally honest. So basically explaining why we're doing the ads and just say, please help me win.
Like a personal appeal.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I wish I had that idea.
Okay, I'm gonna say the results after that, but kind of worked. The second was content-based, so I had 2 content-based tweets, which was one from NFTs because it was kind of like in the news lately, and I was like, maybe it's gonna do something. And the second...
Oh, that's also a good idea. Yeah, NFT is a trendy topic.
And the second content-based was productivity, because I felt like on Twitter, there's a lot of productivity guys and productivity content, and I thought maybe that could appeal to a type of person. The third type of stuff was functional. So functional is, I call it functional in my head, and basically it's your generic tweet. So the generic one was like another podcast in the to-do with no expertise genre. Blah, blah, but they are self-aware, listen and participate on subject ranging from the ontological reality of NFTs, like basically a definition.
You still give like concrete examples.
Yeah.
Which is which is nice. Okay.
Yeah, so that was like the basically definition boring one. Then the honest one was, let me win this bet by listening to one episode of our podcast, pretty please. Any listen would help from any episode. The one about unlocking new brain abilities, the one about the universe collapsing, or the simpler one about reading Nook. So it was also kind of generic, but like personal appeal of please let me win.
Yeah, that's nice.
And the 2 content-based one was tired of feeling awful listening to productivity experts. Listen to these 2 guys explaining the complicated, non-reproducible to-do organization. You might feel better about yourself.
That's not bad. You're good at writing, I think.
And the last one that was the NFT one was NFTs, blockchain, DeFi, POW, POS. You don't need to understand these terms to follow us into the argument that NFTs will make the universe collapse.
Oh, thank God, because... it's proof of work and proof of... Okay. I was like, thank God, because I don't understand these terms either. Okay.
So that was the 4th tweet.
Yeah, creating a mystery, etc. So you were making fun of me, but you also split your 10 euros in different branches.
But like I think my understanding of ads is you need to try, even if it's not a lot of euros, like you need to put multiple content so the algorithm can pick for you. So for example, like when you launch, like in my startup, when you launch like a campaign, they're doing the same campaign just with a different background, like red, yellow, blue, etc. And they just launch like the 10, and then the algorithm pick the one that works the best, even if like there's no real reason behind it. So my feeling was I need to make multiple ones.
That's interesting. So most of my branches have only one tweet, which is pretty sad. So maybe I should have had that insight.
Well, we need different. You had like a lot of insight about like the followers and like blah 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 that I didn't.
Yeah, but maybe it was a disservice. Maybe I overfitted my prior knowledge.
Maybe. Today's sponsor is Abstraction. Do you ever find yourself wanting to talk about several objects at once? Why not try abstraction? This revolutionary formula allows you to group several things inside the same entity, allowing you to easily refer to them and manipulate them at will. So, how are we doing that?
I don't know.
So first, maybe we can just talk like
what we learned and then compare.
As you want. Okay.
Because I have insights, very clear insights about my flame-rich campaign. Oh wait, what were your campaigns? Clicks?
I don't know. Like I thought, like click rate was maybe the easiest way to compare, and then like we can talk about the actual KPI, which was listen. But if you have other stuff,
okay, I have a couple of stuff we can get out of the way right now. So the rich campaign. Very bad. Never do a rich campaign. So 2 euros of rich campaign got me 1,700 tweet impressions, whereas the other branches got stuff like between 3 and 11k. So,
but like I don't understand that because my campaign, my whole thing for $10, I got 1k of impression. Like, so I don't understand how you did it. I just don't.
Well, so let's talk a bit about that. So first, if you want impression, don't pay for impression, pay for clicks. I think that's the main takeaway. Very clear. You can take it home. Why? So my hypothesis and why there is so much impression is because I had maybe very, well, I don't know. I was gonna say very specific targeting.
But like that should be the opposite then, no? It should be more expensive.
Okay, maybe I had very shit click-through rate, so it had to show my my ad to a lot of people, a lot of time.
Okay, so what is your click-through rate?
So the click-through rate is usually around, let's say 2 to 5%.
But me too.
That's weird because we both paid for the same amount of clicks essentially.
So your cost per click is how much?
0.01.
Yeah, like that's bullshit. Because like so basically my click-through rate is like the best campaign is 6 and the worst one is like 2. My cost per click is like 0.25 cents.
Wow. So you had expensive clicks and I had cheap clicks. What does that mean?
Yeah, but like we have the same click rate. It's just like you got like 10,000 impressions and I got like 10.
It's interesting. So there is an actual difference even if we were so similar. I'm very surprised that we got such a big difference when we were basically so similar in our approach, right? We went for the same platform, etc.
I really don't understand, to be honest, because like if you got click rates that were 0.01% or something like that, I would be like, okay, that might be why.
How many clicks did you get total? Do you know?
39.
Wait, on all your thing, you got you give 10 euros and you get 39 clicks?
Yeah, my average cost per click is 22 cents.
I got like 1,000 clicks.
But like that's, but obviously because...
Can we say I beat you and stop it here?
But I don't think so though. My impression, obviously, like we have the same click rate. So like
That is so weird.
They showed my ad for like 1,000 times. They showed your ads like 10,000 times. So obviously you got more clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then why is it built the same? Why did... Oh, because they showed... the people are different. You showed it to expensive people and I showed it to cheap people. I showed it worldwide, whereas
yeah, I put like Silicon Valley people.
So that's why my clicks are cheaper than yours.
Yeah. Okay.
You fucking elitist pig.
Oh yeah, I didn't... Oh yeah.
Interesting insight.
Oh fuck.
So you get like a factor 100 difference from me? Yeah. 2 orders of magnitude difference between white privileged countries and worldwide.
Yeah, your average click rate is how much? Like 3%, 5%?
Average click rate? 3.5, yeah.
Yeah, mine is 3.67. So I won.
It's interesting to see that even if those people cost widely different amount of money, they seem to behave the same way.
Well, they behave the same way, I think, except when you ask them to buy stuff.
Yeah,
that's why.
It's crazy that we have the same CTR with such different perspectives.
Just for the sake of being able to compare our results,
Mm-hmm.
I think let's base our result on the click rate more so than the impression or the cost, just for it to be comparable.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we don't really care about the comparison. We're not doing a paper. We're doing a little bet between friends.
Yeah, but even for the sake of conversation, I think it's more interesting if we can compare our result, and like we can't if we just say like cost per result.
Yeah, well, the cost per result really depends a lot on how the platform bills you, right? So that's why I don't measure how Twitter bills you more than it measures any kind of behavior, which is why I also like intuitively gravitate more towards clicks or click-through rate. But so my click-through rate on average is 3.5%. And there are campaigns that are clearly hovering around the average, but there are campaigns, I don't know how significant it is because you keep making fun of it, but it's a very small sample size. But I do feel that the Sarah's and Mine niche campaign has a significantly higher click-through rate of 5%.
Okay.
Which also makes it like the one that got the least click overall and the least impression, because it makes sense, the most targeted kind of. And there was a one that seems to have significantly less click-through rate is the interest-based compared to follower-based. It's only at 2%.
I don't have that result at all.
But, well, you didn't compare interest and follower.
No, but I did interest compared to like generic, basically.
Yeah, so it feels like interest is... Like it has a lower click-through rate than follower, so you get more impressions if your goal is impressions. I got the exact same number of clicks for both branches, but I got a bit more more clicks on the campaign, on the generic campaign. I got 300 clicks for 10 euros.
My generic campaign didn't even run because I was out of money.
It spent yourself on...
Yeah, so another podcast in the to-do with no expertise to it. It wasn't shown, not even once.
It's too bad because I like the tone of it, but maybe we can look at the natural engagement of it. It's a tweet after all.
To be honest, I did a promoted tweet thingy, so it doesn't appear in the feed because I didn't feel quite right.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that all my tweets appear in the feed.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel quite right about tweeting on the Not Daily Podcast Twitter because I feel like it's kind of yours, which is a bit weird. But you put so much work in it that I was like,
I did a lot of stuff on it. So we'll talk about that next time, maybe.
So actually, there was only three tweets like shown, which was like the "Let me win this bet by listening to this podcast," the NFTs one, and the productivity expert one. And I don't have the same result because the productivity expert one, which is kind of content based, is at 6%, 5.7%, which is my best performing campaign.
Beats Sarah's and Mai.
Hey.
Which I thought you couldn't get more niche than that.
But I mean, like, the thing with well, it was my idea, so it's a bit weird to say, but like, it was a good idea to target productivity podcasts because there's a lot of like shitty productivity experts and shitty productivity podcasts, and saying like, oh, like that shitty, like listen to ours, like we don't even try.
Don't they position themselves as something different? I guess the "we don't even try" is a good is a good one.
It's like, okay, feel better about yourself because you always feel bad when you listen to like productivity expert talk. Like they're like, oh, my life is so perfect and so like well geared and like fuck you.
Yeah, I like the I think the feel good aspect is a good idea for an ad.
But the NFT one, I was kind of surprised about. Like, didn't perform at all. It was like at 1.8%.
Really? Wow.
I think people are fed up with NFTs by now.
maybe, yeah. And maybe it's a little bit late on the wave, or like maybe it's on the wane. It's interesting.
So yeah, and the "Let me win this bet by listening to the podcast" is at 4. So it's a May.
Damn. So I still get the feeling that you have higher click-through rate than me on average, which confirms my impression that you did well writing these. If I look at the content of the tweets themselves, they're all between 2 and 4%, and like unlock your brain new abilities is the one that has the highest click-through rate.
I wanted to do a tweet on that, but I didn't manage to. Like, what was your tweet? Like the actual text?
The actual text on unlock the brain. I think I got one of the old tweets that I used back then. Oh no! I rephrased it a slightly more clickbaity way. How to hack your brains to unlock new superpowers, meditation and love and cats. With a lot of exclamation marks.
I've tried to write one, but I want it to be like actual superpower versus superpowers that you can get in your head. And I didn't manage to like find a sentence to do that. And you were just, well, it's kind of superpower, like, which I think was a good idea.
Well, so when I write tweets to promote the podcast, I try to be clickbaity, like ethical clickbait. But I don't know. I mean, it's Twitter. My feeling is on Twitter, anything goes. You can be as trolly or as disingenuous as you want because half of the people there are bots anyway. But so I try to be clickbaity, but I still I don't think I'm a good clickbait writer.
It's a job.
It is a job, and probably a big one.
I know it's a bit out of whatever, but I kind of would just want to read that tweet that I didn't put in the campaign that I really wanted to. It was on the universe thing. Like, I thought it was a really good episode as well, so I wanted to do something about it, but then...
It's funny that we chose this episode.
I love this episode. I think, like, we should do a follow-up on this episode. Like, we had a lot of follow-up idea about it, and we never did it. So it was, this universe might be a simulation. You might not have free will, so might as well listen to this and listen to our podcast.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And I don't think nihilism sells a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a very strong argument for your podcast to say, like, this is maybe the last thing you want to do, but you might as well.
Yeah, that's why I didn't try it. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea. Okay.
Should we talk about the listens we got?
Yeah.
So I got a lot more impressions, a lot more clicks. So all the odds are in my favor. Did I get more listens than you?
No.
No. So... listens are hard to measure, for
Yeah.
reasons we talked about earlier. So most of my campaigns target a specific episode. So by keeping an eye on that episode in particular, I was able to see that, for instance, my flame wars about inconsistency got us pretty much 0 listens. Main takeaway, don't do engagement, don't do rich campaigns, do click campaigns at least. Sarah's and I got a few results, 2, I think. And for the rest, I got a total of 16, I guess. So if you split it between the branches, it's like 5 5 listens per branch. So I guess the Sarahs and my didn't perform as well as I hoped. I don't know how to attribute listens to the generic campaign, obviously. But the tweets that were in the follower and interest campaigns that were targeting at 2 specific episodes, and those 2 branches did a total of 10 listens.
Okay.
So 5 per branch. So for a grand total of what I approximate to be 18 listens.
I think you did better than me, to be honest. So on my campaign about productivity, which has like a 6% click-through rate, which should kind of equal to listen because it plays automatically when you click on it.
Yeah.
I don't have any listen on Red Circle.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that there is a big discrepancy. There's a lot noise in measuring listens, right, as we talked about. So I hope that the fact that the noise is supposedly like evenly spread and so we can do relative comparisons between the two of us.
But so I guess my campaign that worked the most was the generic one, meaning like linking to the actual podcast, not an episode.
Which is surprising, but okay.
Yeah. Because I guess NFT got... Oh, okay. NFT got actually 5 listen. So my worst campaign actually got listened to. Like I got 9 link clicks. So 9% click on the link. And apparently 5 of them...
Yeah, 50% click to listen conversion.
Yeah, so they're really high quality.
Worth the 25 cents you pay for them.
25 cents, yeah. And then, so the generic thingy, which is a bit weird then because like you don't really know what episode they'll listen to, but I guess you can just say it's the last one. I got...
or you take all the listens of the period and you extrapolate a little bit.
So 10 listen plus 5 for NFT, it's like 15. And that's pretty much it, I guess. So 15 versus 18.
I don't think our measurement tool are precise enough to conclude.
I think I lost
to a winner, but I don't think you significantly lost.
But that was fun. Actually, it's not, if you think about it, it's not that expensive.
So it seems that 10 euros gets you around 10 to 20 listens.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it got me 30k impressions and 1k clicks, and it got you a lot less.
Way less, like 1,000 impressions, which is a bit insane. Like the difference is insane.
Makes you think about geopolitics of the world.
So what's the conclusion? Do you want to make good ads?
The conclusion is don't do rich campaigns. It's clearly I wasted a fifth of my money on that.
And then, yeah, it's harder to actually make any conclusion, I guess. Because, I don't know, my generic one, the Let Me Win This Bet kind of performed as well as a productivity expert one. But at the same time, like it performed well on the click rates, but it didn't perform well at the listen to. But the NFTs one performed well at the listen to. And I guess the Sarahs and my one did as well. So like super niche actually make for actually good target.
I don't know, because if you look at it, the Sarahs and mine didn't get that much listened in the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So
I was hoping to that the ads like money plus niche equals success, but it's not that simple. I don't know if you can draw any conclusion. A conclusion is that the generic campaigns performed surprisingly well. That we didn't expect that at all. I'm not too surprised about yours because you give actual concrete examples, so it's not that
generic. Yeah. It's kind of weird that we have like that one episode that performs super well, which is why do manga characters scream the name of their attacks, and we didn't do any ads on that, which you could, I don't know, we could have saw that because it worked so well.
Well, I don't know if we should talk about it because we never really understood what happened there.
That is true.
I noticed that none of us looked at Red Circle to see in what country we are popular to further target in those countries.
Well, I've looked at it, and basically it's like United States.
Oh, really? I mean, I think the manga one was not United States, so I don't know. I mean, maybe my conclusion is that even though we took 2 very different pathways, that you had really selective demographics criteria to the point that your cost is 2 orders of magnitude bigger than mine, we still get approximately the same number of listens in the end. So I guess the thing I learned here is that your clicks are very different from my clicks, which I didn't expect beforehand. In the way they are considered by Twitter, at least. All I noticed is it didn't get us a lot of listener messages.
Get us none.
I don't know how to... So it didn't solve our initial problem, right? That we want to engage with listeners and they don't want to engage with us, mommy.
Exactly. We're paying for it and it still doesn't happen. So we don't know what to do
Maybe you
anymore.
can send them money directly. For each email you send us.
We're paying you 25 cents.
25 cents, yeah. But yeah, so please send us messages.
Yeah.
Discussing why you're not sending messages on Reddit, Twitter obviously works, Gmail. We have a YouTube too.
Yes, we do.
Everything Not Daily Podcast in one go without spaces. And next time we'll discuss
all of your feedback.
Next time, we'll go into all the prior research I went into on Twitter that we didn't have time to talk about here because we focused on the results. And so you'll discover my dark history with Twitter. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I guess share your own experience with trying to outsmart the Twitter game.
Okay.
And see you
See
next
you.
time.
Not
But
tomorrow. Bye-bye. That was not cringy because you did it in one sentence. You did not do the thing.